Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Special Forces. Being treated as a criminal at the beginning and violently beating Tang Xinyi. Traveling through the world of special forces, his father was killed by a mercenary scorpion. Lin Yu swore to avenge his father. Fortunately, once awakened, the system becomes stronger through training, and as long as you keep training, you can become infinitely stronger. On the day of conscription, Lin Yu was mistakenly identified as a murderer by Tang Xinyi, and he took action to arrest him. He directly beat him up, with a blue nose and swollen face. After enlisting, Lin Yu trained crazily and gradually reached his strongest point. He Chenguang. In terms of marksmanship, I only admire Lin Yu. I have never seen such a terrifying demon before, and I suspect he is not human. Wang Yanbing. Lin Yu made me know what a true god of war is. Lei Zhan. As a member of the Wolf Fang Soldier King, I only serve Lin Yu. Cunxin. If I could marry Lin Yu, it would be the happiest thing. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Training to become stronger. Diamond is not bad. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 97, 98. 99, 100. Lin Yu was now propped up on the ground with both hands, suddenly bouncing up and standing straight. His body was already soaked with sweat at this moment, and beads of sweat as big as beans kept rolling down. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing 100 standard push-ups and receiving rewards. Increased physical fitness by 5, and the ability of the beginner Kong not to be bad. Junior Diamond Immortal Ability. Can withstand ordinary sword cuts and remain physically intact. Ding dong, in the next stage, complete 500 standard push-ups. After hearing the voice in his mind, Lin Yu breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, I have completed 100 standard push-ups, which can be said to be exhausting. Let's take a break for now. These 100 push-ups are not ordinary push-ups, what the system calls standard push-ups, but a slow push-up that takes 20 seconds to complete at a constant speed. The requirement for a constant speed standard of 20 seconds is that time cannot be short, and posture cannot be non-standard. Therefore, sometimes Lin Yu does dozens of things, but it doesn't count. He can only start over. The difficulty level of such push-ups is unimaginable, and the requirements for controlling muscle contraction and strength in the body are very strict, indispensable. Most people, untrained, can hardly complete a single task. If it were the kind of push-ups that ordinary people do, Lin Yu estimated that he could easily complete thousands of them in one breath. Today is the day when conscription begins. Lin Yu looked at the information on his phone and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He was not originally from this world, he traveled here 2 years ago. My predecessor was a college student, my mother died early, and I had a father who was a police officer. I originally thought that this was how I had lived since I traveled through time. However, the good times didn't last long. More than 2 months ago, his father was killed by an overseas mercenary during an arrest operation. And the person who killed his father is the notorious scorpion in the world of film and television in his past life. That's why he realized he had traveled to the world of special forces. Just a month ago, he awakened the system, and with crazy training, he could become stronger. At this moment, he slowly turned his head and looked at the portrait of Lin Yu in the middle of the room. He clenched his fists slowly, his eyes firmly fixed. I will definitely avenge you. Traveling through time and living with Lin Yu for 2 years, Lin Yu treated him very well. He had already regarded Lin Yu as his father. Now that he had suffered a tragic death, he definitely couldn't let go of this matter like this. He also knew that in his situation, it was almost impossible to kill the scorpion. After all, it was extremely difficult for the international police to catch him, and his whereabouts were very mysterious. So, he has to join the army, otherwise there is no possibility of touching the scorpion. He believes that with the help of the system, he can definitely become very strong, reach the elite level in the army, and have the opportunity to interact with scorpions. Moreover, becoming a pillar of the country is also Lin Shanyue's wish for him. After thinking about this, he slowly said to himself, "System, open the current property panel." Host. Lin Yu Physical Fitness. 20:10 for ordinary people, current task. Complete 500 standard push-ups. Ability. Beginner level Diamond Immortal ability, beginner level Fighting ability, beginner level Explosive ability. Skill. Currently unavailable Physical Fitness, which includes abilities such as strength, reaction, speed, etc., is considered a comprehensive ability. He is now twice as capable as an ordinary person in this aspect. It is needless to say that the primary Vajra is not bad. The primary fighting ability is the essence of fighting experience engraved in his bones, forming muscle memory and ready to respond at any time. Primary explosive ability, in an instant, can double one's various physical abilities and reach a peak state, which can be maintained for 1 minute. Now, his attribute abilities are like this, and after completing the current task, he can continue to receive rewards. He looked at the sky and it was already noon. He was ready to go out for a meal and sign up for conscription. She took a shower, changed into pure black clothes, and then went out to eat. She likes a simple style. Walking on the street, Lin Yu's steps were steady and his breath was extraordinary, giving people a very unusual feeling, like a seasoned practitioner for many years. However, at this moment, a capable woman wearing tight-fitting clothes slowly walked behind, her eyes fixed on the front. This person is Tang Xinyi. This time, they joined forces with the military and police to arrest a fugitive serial killer. The target was dressed in gray clothes, about 1.8 meters tall, with a slender figure, right in front of them. At this moment, a voice quickly came from her earphone. "Lieutenant Comrade, he seems to have noticed us. You control him from the front, we flank him, we must not let him run away." Upon hearing this, Tang Xinyi's eyebrows instantly rose and she suddenly rushed forward. She didn't originally want to move on the street because it might harm passers-by, but now she can't do it without action. At the next moment, the criminal in front of him quickly turned and disappeared at the corner. "Damn it!" Tang Xinyi let out a loud roar and quickly rushed out. Ahead, the criminal was dressed in black and hurriedly fled before turning into a small alley. Tang Xinyi turned into this street at this moment, looked forward, and immediately saw Lin Yu dressed in black. Chapter 2. Being regarded as a criminal. Strike hard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Originally, there were many people on the street, but now seeing Lin Yu dressed and with a body shape and back that was almost the same, I almost immediately locked onto him. "It's you." Tang Xinyi looked serious and quickly rushed forward. After rushing forward, she quickly hooked her fist from behind and threw it at the back of Lin Yu's head. This person is a serial killer, and she is not careless. She must quietly subdue her and make her lose her combat effectiveness. However, Lin Yu had a strong sense of perception. When Tang Xinyi rushed forward, he heard footsteps, and this person naturally keenly noticed the situation behind him. He suddenly raised his eyebrows. Could he even get beaten while walking on the street? However, despite thinking so, his reaction was not slow. He quickly tilted his head and dodged the opponent's hook. Tang Xinyi was taken aback. Could he even avoid it like this? At this moment, Lin Yu did not hesitate at all. After avoiding it, a reflexive backward punch instantly hit Tang Xinyi's face. Bang! With a muffled sound, Tang Xinyi couldn't dodge and was directly hit in the face. A huge force instantly pushed it back, feeling dizzy and almost falling to the ground. This is the muscle memory ability of beginner combat, with a reflexive shot. If the opponent directly takes a shot, he naturally cannot have a soft hand. Push and push. Tang Xinyi took a few steps back, her eyes shining with gold stars. However, she has also practiced and relied on her instincts to strike again. However, Lin Yu snorted coldly and then quickly kicked sideways. The next moment, Lin Yu kicked Tang Xinyi in the stomach with his foot, and in an instant, he kicked her out and slammed her to the ground. The people on the surrounding streets were all shocked and they saw this behind the scenes, and they got away from it, not knowing how to fight properly. Tang Xinyi was lying on the ground at this moment, feeling dizzy with stars in her eyes, and her stomach was in severe pain, so she couldn't even stand up. At the next moment, Lin Yu walked up to see the other person's appearance clearly. What is this? He raised his eyebrows, this face he was very familiar with. In this world, if he didn't admit it wrong, is this person Tang Xinyi? Stop it. Not far away, a loud shout suddenly came out, and several plainclothes police officers appeared on the street, raising their guns at Lin Yu. Ah! After seeing the gun pulled out, the people on the street were instantly scared and ran away, afraid to stop. The police officer holding a gun is the team leader of this operation, named Wang Fu, a police officer from the Donghai Municipal Public Security Bureau. He didn't expect this criminal to be so strong. Lieutenant Tang Xinyi had trained before, but in just a few seconds, he was knocked to the ground and lost his combat effectiveness. At this moment, Lin Yu heard the voice behind him and slowly turned around. After seeing Lin Yu's appearance, Wang Fu was immediately taken aback. Lin Yu, why are you? Wang Fu was stunned. Wang Fune is an old friend of his father Lin Shangyue, and of course he knows Lin Yu. Lin Yu was also unclear, shrugged and said, Uncle Wang, this is not my business. She suddenly rushed out and attacked me, so I had to put her down to the ground. Wang Fu was somewhat dumbfounded, but he didn't expect Lin Yu to be so strong that even his comrades in the army could be easily defeated. At this moment, the voice of his subordinates came from Wang Fu's earphone. Captain, the criminal has been caught. We will come over and fight against you immediately. After listening, Wang Fu suddenly realized that Tang Xinyi had mistaken someone. No wonder he almost didn't recognize Lin Yu when he looked from behind just now. His back really resembled that criminal too much. I misunderstood. At this moment, Wang Fu put away his gun with a bitter smile and quickly walked over to help Tang Xinyi, who was still lying on the ground. Tang Xinyi finally recovered, but her lower abdomen and face were still very painful. You can see that her face has turned blue and is about to swell up. She had just heard Wang Fu's words, and looking at Lin Yu's face, she did realize that she had mistaken someone, and her face immediately turned very ugly. I have been in the military for so long and have completed so many tasks, and this is the first time I have mistaken someone. Wang Fu looked at Tang Xinyi's swollen face at the moment and said, Xiao Yu, why didn't you apologize to the military comrades quickly? Let's see what you did to them. Why did you hit them so hard? Lin Yu shrugged his shoulders. Tang Xinyi was indeed a reckless and impulsive character in previous films and TV shows. He directly attacked him, can he be blamed? Humph. Tang Xinyi snorted coldly at this moment, shook off Wang Fu's arm, and walked back with an unpleasant expression on her face. At the end of the day, it was her impulsiveness that caused her to be beaten up like this, so she didn't have the face to continue staying here. Wang Fu shook his head and looked at Lin Yu, saying, You little boy is hiding it deep. I didn't expect your strength to be so strong. After hearing this, Lin Yu smiled slightly and said, It's okay, isn't it? Wang Fu scolded with a smile and said, All right, you said you're fat and you're panting. Since that's the case, come with me and take a note. Lin Yu feels a bit sore. Even if he comes out for a meal, he can encounter this kind of thing. If he doesn't finish his meal, he has to go to the public office. Chapter 3. Plot Development. Fan Tiankeng was shocked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When he arrived at the public office, Lin Yu got off the police car and followed Wang Fu in. Suddenly, he noticed that not far away, several police officers handcuffed two people and walked over. He was moved in his heart because he was very familiar with these two people, namely Chenguang and Wang Yanbing. He pondered for a moment, and it seemed that the plot had already begun. Chenguang and Wang Yanbing were tricked into the police station by Tiankeng, and the next step was to enlist. After entering the police station and completing the transcript, Lin Yu looked at Tang Xinyi, who seemed to want to eat her, and smiled faintly before leaving the police station. Stinky kid. Tang Xinyi cursed at this moment. Her face is now blue and purple, very prominent, which makes her very angry. This bastard is so aggressive. At this moment, a sudden sound of suspicion came from the side. Comrade Xiao Tang, why are you here? What's wrong with your face? Tang Xinyi turned her head and suddenly saw Fan Tianlei walking over in a military uniform, looking at her face in surprise. After hearing this, Tang Xinyi's face didn't look very good. She reached out to cover her face and said, I misunderstood the criminal. I was beaten by that bastard. Oh. Fan Tianlei was slightly surprised. He was aware of Tang Xinyi's strength, and if he could defeat the opponent like this, his strength would definitely be impressive. He turned his head to look at Lin Yu, who was leaving. You can see that Lin Yu has steady steps, a straight back, and a unique calm temperament. This kid is a bit interesting. On the side, Wang Fu said, it's really good. His father is a police officer and my old comrade in arms. Unfortunately, he was killed by mercenaries a few months ago, and his mother died a few years ago. Now he's the only one left. After hearing this, Fan Tianlei immediately touched his chin. Both parents died. This time he came to recruit Chenguang and Wang Yanbing. I didn't expect to encounter such a promising young man. It would be a pity not to join the army. After finishing his meal, Lin Yu went straight to the conscription registration office. After registering, Lin Yu returned to his own home. Looking at this small courtyard, Lin Yu sighed and said that he would be leaving with the army in a few days. After living for more than 2 years, he still felt a bit reluctant. However, upon seeing the portrait of Lin Shangyue, he strengthened his beliefs. At night, he was in the courtyard with an Iron Man made of refined iron in front of him. This is something he spent money on someone to build, specifically using this Iron Man to test his own strength. It can be seen that there are already more than 10 faint marks on the Iron Man's body, all of which are the marks left by his forceful bombardment. He stood in front of the Iron Man at this moment, treating him as a scorpion, and then suddenly exerted his strength, smashing it into the Iron Man's chest. Bang! A loud sound came out, as if two metals were colliding with each other. At the next moment, he slowly withdrew his fist. You can see that there is a faint punch mark on the chest of the Iron Man, which actually caused the iron block to sink down by about a centimeter. This is the clearest punch mark, even previous bombardments could not leave such a clear punch mark. It seems that the physical fitness has increased by 5, and indeed it has become much stronger. Next, he is preparing to continue doing push-ups to enhance his own strength. It's definitely not an easy task to complete the system standard of doing 500 constant speed push-ups every 20 seconds. Even if you can succeed every time, it takes over 5 hours to do them continuously. However, he will still have a failure rate and even physical exhaustion, which will take longer. At that moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Lin Yu stood up, walked to the door of the room, and opened it. Outside the door, Fan Tianlei stood in military uniform. Lin Yu was slightly surprised. How did Fan Tianlei find him? Is there anything wrong? He asked indifferently. Fan Tianlei chuckled and said, Hee, I'm a comrade in the army. I came to ask you for something, don't you invite me in. After hearing this, Lin Yu didn't know what Fan Tianlei was up to, but his intuition told him it should be related to joining the army. He said calmly, come in. Okay. Fan Tianlei followed Lin Yu into the courtyard. Sitting on a stone table in the courtyard, with a smile on his face, he was about to speak when his gaze caught a glimpse of the Iron Man beside him. When he saw the marks on the iron block, especially the punch mark that had just been hit, his pupils shrank. Then he stood up in shock and walked to the side of the Iron Man, reaching out to touch it. The quality of this Iron Man, although not entirely iron, is definitely thick. Most people would probably have to use a sledgehammer to smash it, and it would take several more blows to leave a mark. However, Lin Yu surprisingly left such marks with his fist. This moved his heart. How terrifying a force must be to leave such a fist mark on this Iron Man. Lin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Fan Tianlei, saying, "What's up with you? If you have something to talk about, please let me know." Fan Tianlei slowly exhaled at this moment, and then his gaze towards Lin Yu changed. This kid is really amazing, he really came right this time. At this moment, Fan Tianlei sat back at the stone table and looked at Lin Yu like a treasure, asking, "Are you interested in joining the army?" Sure enough, Lin Yu knew that Fan Tiankeng was here for this matter. The other party went to the police station to retrieve Chenguang and Wang Yanbing, and probably also checked their own information. Chapter 4. Enlistment. What, you're not convinced? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yu's guess is correct. Fan Tianlei did read his information and was prepared to persuade Lin Yu to join the army with reason and emotion. However, Lin Yu said indifferently, "I won't bother you anymore. I have already registered." Oh. Fan Tianlei's eyes lit up. He had already prepared a lengthy speech if Lin Yu didn't agree, but he didn't expect Lin Yu to have already signed up. After receiving confirmation, he smiled and said, okay. Since that's the case, I won't disturb you. We'll see each other later." After speaking, he stood up and left the room. Lin Yu shook his head, not expecting to be targeted by Fan Tiankeng before entering the army. This was obviously not a good thing. However, on the other hand, Fan Tiankeng is the chief of staff of Wolf Fang. If he wants to kill scorpions in the future, he may have to enter the special forces, otherwise he will not be able to come into contact with scorpions, so he is expected to meet them sooner or later. Shaking his head, he stopped thinking about these things and continued to sit up. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the time for conscription had arrived. On this day, Lin Yu stood up after finishing his morning exercise. During this period, he completed over 300 push-ups again. Of course, including the failed push-ups, he did a total of thousands, each time almost exhausting his energy. After finishing the morning exercise, taking a shower, and tidying up, Lin Yu walked to the main hall of the room and knelt on the ground. He looked at Lin Shanyue's portrait and slowly said, "Although we only have a father-son relationship of over 2 years, I will avenge you, I will definitely do it." After speaking, he stood up, carried his bow on his back, and went to the conscription gathering place. The gathering place has already attracted many people, all with excited faces. It was their first time joining the army, and everyone was very excited. After Lin Yu arrived here, he immediately saw 3 familiar figures. Chenguang, Wang Yanbing, Lei Zhan. He raised his eyebrows slightly and didn't expect to be assigned to a group army company. However, he speculated that this should be the platoon intentionally assigned to him by Fan Tiankeng, which is highly likely. Chenguang keenly noticed Lin Yu at this moment. "I had seen it outside the public office before, but only once. I didn't expect Lin Yu to join the army and be assigned to a company." He walked up with a smile and said, "Fate, brother. We met before at the entrance of the public office." Lin Yu nodded lightly. At this moment, Wang Yanbing caught up and said, "You were asked to shift the topic to me. When will you compensate for my phone?" Chen shaved his head and said, "Why are you so annoying? Why don't you ask the police officer to compensate for your phone?" All right, you two, stop arguing. We will all be comrades in arms from now on, and harmony is precious. Lin Yu walked up to settle the dispute. The sergeant on the side walked up and shouted, "What's the noise? Get in the car." "Humph, I'm not finished with you about this," Wang Yanbing snorted coldly. Chenguang shook his head helplessly and then began queuing up to get on the bus. Along the way, without saying anything, the car drove slowly and finally arrived at the military base. All the new recruits got off the car, and even everyone felt curious. They looked around and fought very lazily. At this moment, Lin Yu's expression was calm. He had watched this scene on TV and now it had arrived firsthand, without any novelty. You can see several officers standing in the distance, the most prominent of which are Gong Jian and the old black squad leader. In the distance, Gong Jian looked at the scattered new recruits and frowned, shouting, "Everyone stand up for me." A loud shout startled all the new recruits, and they quickly gathered together and stood together. Gong Jian stood on the stage and shouted again, "Look at your lazy appearance. Do you look a bit like a soldier, like a mom buying groceries at the market, chattering?" Lin Yu's expression was calm at this moment. He knew that the routine training had begun and that it was a necessary step to enter the army. Gong Jian stood on the stage at this moment, his gaze scanning, and he paused for a moment on Chenguang, the three of them, and Lin Yu. He was well informed and naturally knew that Fan Tianlei had gathered all four of them together during the conscription and came here. This made him a little curious. Is there anything special about these four kids? At this moment, he slowly stepped down from the high platform and arrived in front of the new recruits. He walked in a row with his hands behind his back, looked at each one, and then stood in front of everyone, saying, "This is the Iron Fist Regiment, a team with a glorious history. Starting today, I will be the instructor of your new recruits company. Look at you guys, I don't want you guys wearing military uniforms wandering around here. You don't even deserve to be called soldiers." Lin Yu shook his head slightly at this moment. He knew this kind of opening statement as well as his fingertips, and was almost tired of listening to it. It could be seen as a way to intimidate the new recruits. However, Gong Jian keenly noticed Lin Yu's expression at this moment and immediately raised his eyebrows. "What, you're not convinced? New book release, seeking flower review tickets. Add more rules, if someone is reading a book, click in to take a look. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1000 flowers and 1 watch. 100 reviews plus 1 update. 5 monthly tickets plus 1 change. 1 reward and 1 watch. 10 comments plus 1 update." The data on the first day after the release of the new book is very important. Everyone who reads the book can casually submit it, thank you on your knees. As long as the data is good on the first day, the author will go crazy. Chapter 5 is completed in 30 seconds. Are you at the speed of light? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gong Jian had already noticed Lin Yu and his 4 companions, and now he was even more keenly observing his expression. After hearing this, Lin Yu spoke up and said, "Report, there is no disagreement." After hearing this, Gong Jian let out a loud shout and said, "I'm not convinced. What kind of expression is that on your face? You're dragging around for 2, 5, or 8,000 yuan. I'll tell you, in the army, you're a rookie now, just a new recruit. Whatever you do, there must be rules and strict military discipline. It's not a place where you're not serious and playful. Now, 100 push-ups." Gong Jian turned his back and stared at Lin Yu. Lin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly at this moment, not realizing that he was being treated as a chicken to scare the monkeys, but it didn't matter. 100 push-ups were a piece of cake. At the next moment, Lin Yu lay prone on the ground and began doing push-ups. Gong Jian felt proud at the moment and turned his head to continue scolding, "I tell you, in the Iron Fist Regiment, I don't want to see that kind of black sheep. When you step down from the new recruits company, I want to see that all of you are qualified new recruits. Starting from today, I will take you to train his new recruits for 3 months. You can come to me for anything in the future. However, just as he finished speaking, Lin Yu, lying prone on the ground, shouted, "Report, done." "What, are you joking with me again? In 30 seconds, you completed 100 push-ups, at the speed of light." After hearing this, Gong Jian immediately scolded and didn't believe it at all. New recruits generally have poor physical fitness, with 100 push-ups in half a minute. With so many new recruits, he has never seen anyone who can do it, even veterans may not be able to. "I just finished the report." Lin Yu once again said that this situation is not suitable for completing system tasks, so he exploded and did it very quickly. After hearing this, Gong Jian narrowed his eyes. Did he encounter a prick? He walked up to Lin Yu at this moment and stared at him, saying, "Okay, I'll time you now, I'll give you 40 seconds, and you'll do 100 push-ups for me. If you can't finish it, don't feel like eating dinner anymore. Fool your superiors, I see you're not afraid." After speaking, he pinched the timer and quickly said, "Let's go." After listening, Lin Yu pursed his lips slightly and started doing push-ups again. At this moment, the rest of the new recruits are also curious. Can Lin Yu really finish this? Previously, no one noticed Lin Yu, but now it's different. Everyone is staring at him and seeing his speed. At this moment, Gong Jian looked at the timer and at Lin Yu, and his heart gradually became surprised. Because just 10 seconds have passed, he has done more than 30. The most crucial thing is that although each push-up is fast, the posture is also very standard, like a model. He was secretly surprised. This kid didn't really talk big just now. Is his physical condition really so abnormal? The other recruits were also very surprised by the speed, which made it difficult for them to understand, like a merciless exercise machine. Quickly, 30 seconds had passed, and Lin Yu spoke up again and shouted, "Report, done." This time, Gong Jian couldn't speak because he could see clearly. In 30 seconds, Lin Yu finished 100, leaving 10 seconds left. Not far away, the old black squad leader gave Lin Yu a deep glance at the moment. He knew that Lin Yu's strength must be very strong, and few new recruits could do this explosive push-up. Even veteran soldiers who can achieve this situation are absolutely top-notch. Gong Jian touched his chin at this moment and said, "You kid can do it, okay, get up." His face didn't look very good, but in reality, he was overjoyed. He is very optimistic about the top soldiers. On the other hand, both Chenguang and Wang Yanbing frowned slightly, because they were also somewhat surprised and asked themselves that they couldn't achieve this level. You should know that both of them came to compete for the first place in all aspects of entering the army, so now they are feeling some pressure. This Lin Yu is very strong, he is definitely their biggest opponent. Gong Jian finished his lecture at this moment, turned his head to look at the old black squad leader, gave him a glance, and then left. The old black squad leader understood and quickly walked up after Gong Jian left. "I am the second-level sergeant of the Iron Fist Regiment, and I will be your training squad leader in the future. Others call me the old black squad leader. Starting from today, I will lead you into a 3-month devil training program, during which you will be undoubtedly rookie recruits." The old black squad leader is now shouting at the top of his throat. Now, everyone is 5 kilometers ready. Around the track, if anyone can't finish running within half an hour, they don't have to eat dinner either. After the words fell, many new recruits changed their expressions slightly, and they didn't expect it to be like this on their first day of enlistment. 5.5 kilometers an hour, it's not even possible to run it normally, and even if you can run it, you're panting heavily. The key is that you still have a load on your body. However, a mechanical sound of the system echoed in Lin Yu's mind at this moment. There are very few flower review votes. Does anyone read a book? If someone is reading a book, please cast a flower review vote. Comment support is also acceptable, so that the author has the motivation to code words. First day grades are very important, please support. Chapter 6 Task. Sprint 100 kilometers. This little. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding dong, the host is currently unlocking a new task. Sprint to complete 100 kilometers. In my mind, the sound of the system rang out. Lin Yu was stunned at the moment, not expecting to unlock a new task. A 100-kilometer sprint. This made him suddenly feel a little embarrassed, and just hearing it made him feel exhausted. Fortunately, the system tasks are cumulative, otherwise he would be exhausted and unable to complete them. The old black squad leader looked at everyone in front of him and shouted, "What are you still doing in a daze? The timer has already started and you don't even want to eat anymore." After the words fell, everyone began to turn around and quickly charged towards the nearby runway. Chenguang and Wang Yanbing both took a deep breath and quickly ran out. They all want to compete for the first place and are not willing to settle for second place. At this moment, Wang Yanbing turned his head to look at Chenguang beside him and provocatively said, "Can you run down 5 kilometers?" Chenguang shook his head lightly and said, "Take care of yourself, be careful not to be left too far behind by me. Come on, you can do it." Wang Yanbing pursed his lips. He was about to adjust his breathing and began to accelerate, when suddenly he saw a black figure beside him and jumped out. Sleeping trough, what big black mouse just jumped over? He lifted his head and immediately saw Lin Yu, who had already rushed out more than 10 meters. Everyone can see that Lin Yu's speed is very fast, completely like a sprint momentum, leaving everyone behind in an instant. Wang Yanbing said calmly at this moment, "This kid, if he has some strength, he will come up with a plan to get ahead. If he runs 5 kilometers, he will definitely be defeated. By then, he may not be able to run 2 kilometers. Chenguang also shook his head slightly at this moment. He thought he should be a strong opponent, but now it seems that he doesn't even understand the principle of basic long-distance running at a constant speed. How strong can he be? Although Lin Yu is very fast at this moment, he is still trying to control his breathing at a constant speed. While running, he was also paying attention to the system. It was only when he saw the 100-kilometer mission within the system, starting from 0, that the value began to rise, that he felt at ease. According to his current physical condition, it is also difficult to maintain this speed of 5 kilometers, but he can run the entire distance, but he should eventually slow down a bit. In the distance, Gong Jian was standing on a high platform, watching the new recruits running. When I saw Lin Yu leading the way, my eyebrows furrowed. On the side, the old black squad leader walked over and shook his head, saying, "This kid, he loves to show off so much, he's really a prick." Gong Jian said calmly at this moment, "There are many new recruits like this, and their minds are not yet mature. They just want to show off. When they run for a while, they will probably doubt their lives. Running 5 kilometers at this speed is really seeking death." The old black squad leader touched his chin and said, "You can reprimand me as a key point later. Those 2 soldiers are also pretty good." Gong Jian saw Chenguang and Wang Yan's soldiers behind Lin Yu, almost on par with the others in front. Not long after, on the runway, Lin Yu quickly completed 1 kilometer and was ready to start the 2nd kilometer. On the high platform, Gong Jian said at this moment, "It's a bit interesting. Although Lin Yu likes to show off a bit, his physical fitness is still good. He has been able to run at this speed for so long." However, the old black squad leader shook his head and said, "I'm afraid he won't be able to hold on to this 2nd kilometer." However, in the 2nd kilometer, Lin Yu quickly finished running and started the 3rd kilometer. At this point, Lin Yu had already separated himself from Chenguang, Wang Yanbing, and others by several hundred meters. The old black squad leader looked surprised at the moment and couldn't believe it, saying, "Is this kid's body made of iron? It's okay to run 2 kilometers like this." Gong Jian's eyes lit up at this moment, and he didn't know why he even had a feeling that this kid could run 5 kilometers at this speed. On the runway, Wang Yanbing looked at Lin Yu ahead at this moment, somewhat skeptical of his life. Did he take a stimulant? Why hasn't his speed slowed down yet? He gasped for breath while exclaiming in surprise. Chenguang was sweating profusely at the moment and remained silent. He used to think that Lin Yu was not good, but he didn't expect him to be able to run 3 kilometers at this speed. Regardless of whether the other party can persist in running 5 kilometers, this result has already surpassed him. He asked himself that he cannot achieve this level. If he runs like Lin Yu, he is afraid that 1 kilometer will be wasted. Amidst everyone's skeptical gaze, Lin Yu finally slowed down a bit. This has relieved many people. However, even if the speed slows down, it is faster than the speed of all of them. 4 kilometers, it's the limit. Lin Yu frowned. It seemed that his physical fitness was still not good and needed to be greatly strengthened. He sighed slightly, still very dissatisfied with his physical fitness. If his thoughts were known by others, he would probably vomit blood in anger. If you're not satisfied with this kind of physical fitness, aren't they just waste in the trash? However, the only consolation is that although the speed has decreased, the values in the system are still improving. It seems that the definition of sprint is the speed of relative physical fitness. The data didn't rise at all this morning, and the author suspects it's on a single machine. Should we continue writing? Set up a flag. Before 10 p.m., if there are 1,000 flowers, 100 review votes, and 5 comments, the author will start crazily updating and seeking support. Chapter 7. 5-kilometer record. Angry at the old black squad leader. You are listening at novel-full.audio. In the next kilometer, Lin Yu slowed down his speed. Of course, it's only relatively speaking, much faster than the new recruits in the rear. In the distance, on the high platform, both the old black squad leader and Gong Jian were shocked. Gong Jian said slowly at this moment, "This kid's physical ability is so terrifying." The old black squad leader licked his tongue at this moment and said, "This kid is probably amazing. You can tell at a glance that he is definitely a top soldier in the new army company. I just don't know how his marksmanship will be and whether he can be assigned to the 4th company of skilled marksmen." A new recruit like Lin Yu, who has been with him for so many years, is really rare, and almost no new recruit can be so strong, much stronger than countless veterans. Gong Jian grinned at the moment, not expecting to find a new recruit again. Moreover, Chenguang and Wang Yanbing behind him, although not as good as Lin Yu, are all good in terms of physical fitness. At this moment, he turned his head and looked at the old black squad leader, saying, "I'll leave it to you. Let's train well. Your strength is good, but you do have a bit of a tendency to show off and kill him. Give him a head start later." Okay, the old black squad leader nodded. Finally, the 5-kilometer journey came to an end, and Lin Yu successfully completed it and returned to the starting point. The 5-kilometer sprint, even though his physical fitness was twice that of an average person, was still quite uncomfortable, with rapid breathing and sweating profusely. Fortunately, the number of kilometers completed in the system has reached 5 kilometers, and the efforts have not been in vain. In the rear, both Chenguang and Wang Yanbing almost doubted life and couldn't believe that they were so much slower than Lin Yu. The pressure on their backs made them want to accelerate, and their legs were a bit stiff. Originally, both of them were rushing to compete for the first place, but unexpectedly, Lin Yu, who is now the first, left them far behind. On the first day of new recruits joining the army, it dealt them a huge blow. 2 people gritted their teeth, remained silent, and persevered to complete 5 kilometers in their shortest time. After the 2 of them finished, they finally returned to the finish line, all hunched over and panting heavily, sweat continuously rolling down and dripping onto the ground. The old black squad leader walked slowly over from a distance, pinched the timer, and spoke, with a load of 5 kilometers, "Lin Yu, it will take 18 minutes. Both of you took 21 minutes after these words were spoken." Chenguang and Wang Yanbing's faces immediately turned ugly. They spent 2 more minutes than Lin Yu, which instantly boosted their confidence. At this moment, Chenguang looked at Lin Yu and noticed that the other person's originally rapid breathing was about to subside. This shocked him even more. His recovery ability is also so strong. Lin Yu was not surprised when he heard about the results at this moment, as he had measured them before, but this time it was a heavy load, which took more time. After seeing Lin Yu's taken for granted expression, the old black squad leader immediately turned pale and shouted, "Do you think I'm going to praise you? Do you know what's most important in the army? In the army, one person is not strong, everyone is truly strong. Take a look at your teammates. If this is on the battlefield and you have escaped alone, will you just leave your comrades behind like this?" After hearing this, Lin Yu felt a bit amused in his heart. He knew that the old black squad leader had a urine-like nature. If he ran slowly, he would be scolded, and if he ran too fast, he would also be scolded. This was the treatment of new recruits, just showing off. The soldiers behind the old black squad leader were all a bit amused at the moment, with a hint of mockery in their eyes as they looked at Lin Yu. A new recruit egg, still wanting to fight against the old black squad leader. However, Lin Yu's expression was calm at the moment and he spoke up, "Report, I believe that training within the army and putting in all our efforts is to achieve the best combat performance on the battlefield in the future. Only by putting in all your effort during training can you have the ability to help other comrades on the battlefield, rather than paddling and running at the same speed as your teammates during training, which is not called training, but regular running. If that's the case, when we reach the real battlefield, we will also die faster." Lin Yu firmly finished speaking these words. After this statement, the old black squad leader's face looked a bit ugly. Because he wanted to reprimand Lin Yu, but found that what Lin Yu said was completely correct, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. "Humph. Well said, it depends on whether you can do it when you go to the battlefield." The old black squad leader snorted coldly, then turned around and looked at the other recruits. On the side, several soldiers were slightly surprised, but they didn't expect the old black squad leader to be scolded and speechless. It was the first time they had seen the old black squad leader eat his food. Chenguang couldn't help but grin and secretly gave Lin Yu a thumbs up. Quickly, on and off, the remaining recruits completed 5 kilometers. Finally, Lei Zhan ran over panting heavily. The old black squad leader immediately shouted and cursed, "Look at your bear-like appearance. 5 kilometers won't do. Looking for flower evaluation tickets, comment support, 1000 flower goal, looking for support." Chapter 8. The shock of the old black squad leader. This is simply terrifying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I can't do it, I really can't do it. At this moment, Lei Zhan seemed to have been pulled out of the water, breathing rapidly and out of breath, almost kneeling on the ground. It was still Chenguang who reached out and helped him. "You're really a rookie," the old black squad leader cursed with resentment. Later, he turned his head to look at Lin Yu, Chenguang, and others, and said, "Aren't you going to support and help your comrades in arms? I will give you the task now to help Lei Zhan improve his physical fitness. Tie the grades of the 4 of you together, and if his grades are not up to standard, you will also be unqualified." Ah! Wang Yanbing and Chenguang were momentarily stunned. Could they still perform such operations? The old black squad leader said, What, orders are orders." Lin Yu didn't feel much because he knew that Lei Zhan could improve his physical fitness through hard work later on, so he didn't care. The old black squad leader looked at all the new recruits and said, "Now, everyone follow me and start dividing dormitories." After hearing this, the new recruits all breathed a sigh of relief and could finally take a break. Dividing dormitories is very simple. Lin Yu and Chenguang were not assigned to the same dormitory, but were located next door. In the dormitory, several people all make their beds. Lin Yu was sleeping in the lower bunk, and at this moment, Wang Bo leaned out and looked at Lin Yu, saying, "Brother, how did you practice with such strong physical strength?" Yeah, your physical fitness is simply too strong. I feel like you can even join the national team, said Zhao Wu enviously from the other shop. Subsequently, several people in the dormitory all spoke their minds. Lin Yu's physical fitness before, but it really shocked them. He is simply a little superhero in reality. After hearing this, Lin Yu smiled slightly and said, just exercise more in your daily life. At this moment, Sun Luan from the upper bunk leaned out and chuckled, Brother Lin, I'll follow you from now on. You can call me Fat. Wang Bo also said, yes, Brother Lin, we will all hang out with you in the future. Lin Yu did not expect his previous actions to make these people admire him so much, as if he had directly become the leader of the dormitory. But that's also true. Within the army, strength is always the top priority, especially for these young people who have just graduated from college. They see the army as a place where men are passionate. So, only those who truly have strength will be admired. Brother Lin, are you going to take a shower? The fat man now got down from the top bunk and held the wash basin. After hearing this, Lin Yu said, no need, you guys go. I have other things to do. Okay, let's go first, the chubby man nodded. After running 5 kilometers, I was covered in sweat and couldn't bear my clothes sticking to my body. Quickly, Lin Yu was left alone in the dormitory. After resting for a moment, he got up and walked outside to the place where he had previously trained. He was ready to continue doing push-ups and complete the system task. Previously, when he was at home, he would basically train all day except for eating, drinking, and urinating. As long as he had physical strength, he would continue to train. Today, this amount of training is not a big deal for him, so he is preparing to continue and strive to complete one of the tasks as soon as possible. On the other hand, the old black squad leader left the dormitory and wanted to go back when he happened to meet Gong Jian on the way. Gong Jian casually asked, Lao He, how are you doing? Have you intimidated that kid yet? After listening, the old black squad leader felt a bit embarrassed and told Gong Jian about the previous situation. After hearing this, Gong Jian smiled instead of getting angry and touched his chin, saying, this kid is really interesting. He has a sharp mouth and seems to be an all-rounder. He patted the shoulder of the old black squad leader and said, all right, let's just keep it this way. The old black squad leader is now stepping out of the dormitory, preparing to prepare some materials, and will start formal training tomorrow. Step out of the dormitory, go outside, and pass through the training ground. He suddenly noticed that not far away, a figure was lying prone on the ground. Lin Yu. He recognized this person, it was Lin Yu. However, he did not see what Lin Yu was doing, because Lin Yu had to do a push-up for 20 seconds, which was almost equivalent to a super slow movement, slowly sinking and slowly lifting. The old black squad leader was puzzled and stood in the distance to watch for a while. Subsequently, his gaze changed from doubt to surprise. Is this doing push-ups? He was simply stunned because he had never seen anyone doing push-ups like this before. The movements were incredibly slow, and it took him a while to realize. This kid. His eyes trembled, and he stood beside him for a while. During the time he watched, he found that Lin Yu almost used the same speed and posture for every push-up, which was too standard to show any flaws. 15 were done in 5 minutes. He admitted that even with this level of push-ups, he could only sit a few times, and his movements would definitely not meet the standards of Lin Yu. This makes him feel a little tingling on his scalp. What kind of person can control their body muscles to such an extent? The most crucial thing is that Lin Yu did 200 push-ups and sprinted 5 kilometers before, and now he still has this kind of physical fitness. It's really amazing. The data did not rise all afternoon. Readers and friends, please feel free to throw flowers after reading the book. Please support. Chapter 9. Is this a show? Wang Yanbing's mockery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He sighed in his heart, and now he finally understood why Lin Yu was able to do push-ups so quickly and run 5 kilometers so fast before. This all stems from diligent and hardworking training in daily life. He's really a good kid. The old black squad leader nodded to himself, with a satisfied expression on his face, and then looked at it again for a while before leaving. On the training ground, Lin Yu is currently continuing his push-ups, striving to do every push-up to the best of his ability. However, even so, he still has a failure rate. He did 30 to 40, but only succeeded in more than 20. Unconsciously, sweat had slipped off his cheeks and dripped onto the ground, gradually forming a small puddle. However, his gaze was resolute and unwavering, hoping to quickly become stronger and enhance his own strength, so that when he goes to the battlefield in the future, he can be foolproof. Nightfall slowly descended, and all the new recruits in the new company took a shower, finished their meal, and returned to their dormitories. As for Lin Yu, he is still on the training ground at the moment and continues to work hard in training. 71, 72. 73. He was doing it while counting in his heart, of course, all he counted were the number of successful attempts. Finally, after finishing 100, Lin Yu stood up and slowly panted heavily. System, take a look at the properties panel. Host. Lin Yu physical fitness. 20, 10 for ordinary people, current task. 400, 500 push-ups, 5, 100 kilometers, ability. Junior Diamond Immortal ability, Junior Fighting ability, Junior Explosive ability skill. Currently unavailable. After seeing this, Lin Yu pondered for a moment and realized that there were still 100 push-ups left to complete the current task. It was estimated that he could finish it by tomorrow at the latest, and there would definitely be a wave of rewards at that time. After thinking of this, he felt relieved and slowly returned to the dormitory. Now, everyone has fallen asleep and everything is quiet. After experiencing 5 kilometers in the afternoon, these new recruits slept soundly at night, with the sound of grinding teeth and snoring everywhere. Hurry up and go to bed. It's so late to stay up. I see you're trying to break the rules. Not far away, suddenly came a cold drink. Lin Yu turned his head and immediately saw the old black squad leader. He then smiled and entered his dormitory. The old black squad leader shook his head. He had been paying attention to Lin Yu before. If it weren't for the other party's serious training, he would have come forward and scolded and stopped him long ago. Silent all night, the next morning before dawn, Lin Yu woke up again and arrived at the gathering place early to continue doing push-ups. He developed the habit of getting up early for training a long time ago, and now it's less than 5 o'clock in the morning. According to his current comprehensive physique, even if he only sleeps for 3 or 4 hours, his physical and energy are definitely more abundant than ordinary people. Now, there is still over an hour left until the assembly time. If he were more efficient, he would be enough to complete 500 push-up tasks. The next moment, he lay prone on the ground and began slowly doing push-ups. Unconsciously, the sky slowly lit up, and after more than an hour, Lin Yu completed more than 60 tasks, with 40 still to be completed. This made him frown slightly, because it was a bit too late. The sky was already bright and we were about to gather. In the new recruits' dormitory, everyone in the new recruits' company heard the sound of assembly and began to wake up. Get up, tidy up the house, and quickly leave the dormitory, most of which are yawning incessantly. Wang Yanbing, Chenguang, and Lei Zhan also walked out. Ha, I wake up at this hour, it's very tiring. I haven't even gotten up so early to work, Lei Zhan yawned. After hearing this, Chenguang smiled slightly and said, No, this is only the first day. I will get used to it in the future. Lei Zhan nodded, then turned his head and immediately noticed Lin Yu doing push-ups at the nearby gathering place. Hey, isn't that Lin Yu? What is he doing there? Lei Zhan was surprised. This sentence attracted the attention of many people, all of whom turned their heads to look at Lin Yu. Chenguang looked at Lin Yu, his eyes fixed at the moment. Is this doing push-ups? He was somewhat surprised, as he had been training for years, how difficult it was to do the slow push-ups of the natural way. Looking at the sweat dripping from Lin Yu's body, did Lin Yu wake up early and train here? He thought he had trained hard enough, but now it seems that he is somewhat insignificant in front of Lin Yu. No wonder his physical strength is so strong. Chenguang clenched his fist secretly at this moment, feeling a strong pressure. Being in the same unit as such a ruthless person made him feel a bit inferior, and he made up his mind to train like this in the future. Shoo! What kind of thing, I think he's just showing off. He trained here early in the morning and deliberately did it so slowly. How many can he do? I didn't mean to show it to others and want the old black class leader to praise him. Wang Yanbing pursed his lips slightly at this moment, with a hint of disdain in his eyes. He looks down on people who use shows to attract attention the most. On a new day, all the flower review tickets have been refreshed. Friends, please feel free to vote after reading the book. Please support.